Hey, my name is Josh Coleman. The greatest president of all time was the 40th. As everybody is very familiar with his name, it was the great Ronald Reagan. This is the type of president we need in office today. When Ronald Reagan was president, he led America in the right direction. What I want to talk about today is when Ronald Reagan was president, he formed America into a greater nation. The reason why I chose this topic is if you look at the world today, it's not the greatest place. It'll make you kind of uneasy about going to sleep at night. But when you had a great president like Ronald Reagan, you'll have a lot of information on him, and you'll know what a great president ought to be like. I was an infant when Ronald Reagan was president, but I've heard a lot of good things about him, and I've done my research on him also. In this speech, you'll learn who Ronald Reagan was prior to presidency, during presidency, and after presidency. Here's my audience. On February the 6th, 1911, Ronald Reagan was born. His parents were Nellie and John Reagan from Tampico, Illinois. When Ronald Reagan graduated college, he was a radio sports announcer. In 1937, he started performing acting in 53 different episodes for 20 years. And Ronald Reagan's first wife was Jane Wyman. They had one kid, and then on down the line had another. In 1948, they got divorced. Ronald Reagan's second wife is Nancy Davis. They had a child during the same year they got married, and 6 years later had a son. On January the 20th, 1981, Ronald Reagan was elected President of the United States of America. 69 days after his election, he was shot but made a full recovery. Ronald Reagan is a type of president that uses force toward the enemies. He's not the type that wants to make peace with them. He's going to use force with them. Ronald Reagan was big in nuclear warfare and big on global growth of democracy and freedom. His vision for the nuclear-free world inspired the Strategic Defense Initiative. What this does is they develop some type of system that will keep nuclear attacks from happening by having something that will shoot missiles in the air to blow them up before they get where they're going. Thirdly, Ronald Reagan's life out of presidency is he retired from presidency in 1989, and he moved into his home in Los Angeles area known as Bel Air. He organized memoirs and was a supervisor of the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library. In 1994, Ronald Reagan addressed the American people that he had Alzheimer's. And on June the 5th, 2004, he died of Alzheimer's, and he was buried on the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library grounds. In conclusion, the points that I've spoken about is the life of Ronald Reagan before presidency, after presidency, and during presidency. the articles were informative and based on his life as an actor, radio announcer, and a president. Ronald Reagan was very successful as a president and had very strong approval ratings. And this, in the life of Ronald Reagan, I learned how he struggled with Alzheimer's, and that was also the death of him in 2004. Thank y'all for listening. Here's my audience.